Have you heard things sometimes described as a mix of art and science? Well, my next guest combines the highest literary form, poetry, with sheer guts, because she combines it with improvisation. She is Amy Marschak. She is the Poet Laureate of the North Pole. And Amy, poetry seems challenging enough to then add improvisation along with it. How do you do it?
Well, it's about getting out of your own way. Because so many people, when they're about to write a poem, before they even write it, they go, oh, that's horrible. And if instead of doing that, you just say, let the poem be, we'd have so many more amazing poems. And so that's what I do with improv too. I let the poem be. So it comes out the way it's meant to come out. And sometimes it's not perfect, but sometimes life isn't perfect, so yeah.
How did you come to poetry?
Well, ever since I was little, I just love poetry. And sometimes we all kind of get bored in school sometimes. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but sometimes when I was bored in school, instead of taking notes, I'd start writing poems or prose and stuff like that. And I fell in love with it. And it's a great way. I found it really hit people. Like, people really got it when you wrote something in a poem. So
I think when people fall in love with poetry, they fall hard. Like,
oh, yeah.
They really do. Now, do you have a certain style of poetry, or do you just do the gamut of, I mean, do you look down on limericks, or?
Oh, no. No, not at all.
So you're not a poet snob. You're open to all forms of poetry.
Absolutely. I prefer poems you understand what they say.
Okay.
Because sometimes people don't like poetry, and that's because sometimes poems aren't necessarily written to be understood by the reader. And I try to write poems that the reader does understand. So as long as it's understandable, I really like it.
So if you're trying to connect with your readers, are there certain themes that you keep coming back to?
Yeah, I find myself coming back a lot, especially in improv, to people really being in the moment. Because a lot of things go back to being in the moment. If you really want to be in love with someone, or if you're really in love with someone, it's the moment. It's not being over there or over here, it's being right there with them. So I find a lot of it comes back to that.
You've recently been named the Poet Laureate of the North Pole.
Yeah.
How did this happen? Did some of your winter poetry catch their eye?
Well, I was invited up, and it was absolutely incredible. And I had Santa and Mrs. Claus laughing, and the elves were dancing, and sometimes the reindeer outside were doing a little bit of jumping. So when I got the call, I was thrilled and so excited.
Well, I don't know how much of this is close hold, but do reindeer talk?
I guess it's okay to say. Yes, they do.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, and they say so many things, and they love to sing.
They sing too.
They do. They actually sing.
See, I can talk, but I can't sing.
Well, I believe if people let go, they can give themselves permission to sing. But yeah, the reindeer absolutely sing, the elves sing, Santa and Mrs. Claus sing. There's so much, it's just such a happy place.
Okay, we have a lot more to talk about. And so you're going to come back later on in the show, and we'll talk a little bit more, get some more scoop on the North Pole, okay?
Okay, absolutely.
Thanks, Amy. We're going to come right back. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I will have your weather. But don't worry, Amy is going to be coming back later on the program.